In less than 15 minutes, we're going to be heading out this door to go on a road trip from Phoenix to Colorado to visit family for the holidays. Let's see what that's going to be about. This journey is going to take us from Phoenix, Arizona to Colorado Springs, Colorado. The first leg of this trip is a route I have not taken before, choosing what I would hope to be scenic highways instead of the interstate. Heading north out of Phoenix, stopping overnight in Durango, located in the southwest corner of Colorado, before heading eastward through the Rocky Mountains to arrive in Colorado Springs. For the return trip back, I will be using this first leg to determine if I will return the same way. So that is the plan. But first, some important business to attend to.
Can I get the number 5 meal with the orange juice?
Anything else for you?
That would be it.
First one up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's two things for a road trip that to me make it successful. First one is when you're starting your journey, you start the journey by going to breakfast at McDonald's. Now, I don't go to McDonald's often whatsoever. And it's not even to say that it's the most healthy start to anything, but breakfast at McDonald's, there's something about that just at the start of a trip just feels really, really good. And the second thing is, while on the journey, when you are stopping for a meal, you go to IHOP. Now, I know it's very breakfast oriented, and breakfast could be amazing. It doesn't matter what time of day it is that you're going to be stopping at an IHOP during a road trip. No matter where you're going, you'll probably run into an IHOP, but there are different options that you can have, whether it's a Waffle House or maybe a Village Inn. I usually try and stay away from Denny's, even though, if you want your eggs over my hammy or whatever it is, then your Grand Slam breakfast, then go for it. Two hours later, venturing northbound on I-17, we enter Arizona snow country. It was the perfect time to promote a successful trip and pull into an IHOP, only to face regret and a new omen for things to come. So it's a landmark day. I went to stop at the IHOP as per tradition and stood there for like 15 minutes. Staff saw me, acknowledged, or didn't even acknowledge me, just saw me and like nodded as they were busy dealing with 3 tables, and nobody came to say even anything like, hey, we'll be with you in a second. I'd be like, all right, this sounds great. So it looks like I'm going to not be venturing to IHOP. This might be the end of a tradition. I need a new tradition. I think that's what I need. Utterly disappointed, I continue on to Durango. The shorter winter days have left me with little more daylight to burn. So perhaps it was for the best. This is going to be much more interesting. We're heading toward, I've already taken the junction. I'm on 160 right now, and we're going to be going this way for a little bit until we get to Four Corners Monument, which I hope we can stop and take a look. But until then, we're going to enjoy the views as we get out of Arizona and head toward Colorado. So for anybody who may not be aware of what Four Corners is, it's the point in the U.S. in which 4 states share a single border, and so it's forms 4 corners between Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. And from what I understand too, looking at the map, before we get into Colorado, we're actually going to be temporarily crossing the border into New Mexico, having a short trip before then we get into Colorado, but we're going to be driving right by the monument, and so we're absolutely going to be stopping there. Hey, one. I have card. Oh, I don't have cash. All right, thanks. Got rejected to go into the Four Corners Monument, which, because it costs money, it costs $5 per person, I guess, which I figured it was going to cost something, but I don't carry cash, and their credit card stuff was down, so I'm like, okay, that's the start and end of that. What a sad disappointment.
There's a place beyond the silver moon. If we drive, then we can get there soon. Ride, close your eyes and ride with me. We could park out on the edge of town. Heart so high, they coming down. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go?
So far, the roads have brought nothing but dry and smooth driving since snow has been sparse so far this year, allowing me to enjoy a gorgeous evening sun as I make my way into Colorado and pull into my hotel for the night.
We're only going to stay here the night. I was actually waiting to come and stay here to see if I was willing to stay here again on the way back.
Little did I know, a massive windstorm would sweep through the west, bringing unexpected snow to the mountains while I slept. As for my dear Fiesta, this would be the first time seeing snow and me left without any equipment to handle its removal.
So this car is a 2012, and I bought it while I was still living in Los Angeles. And from there, I had moved to Phoenix. And so this is the first time in nearly 10 years that this car will see snow. And first time that, actually not even the first time that I've driven in snow for a while, because when I came out to Colorado a couple of years ago, it actually snowed really bad, and I wasn't able to delay my trip because it was a flight and I had rented a vehicle. This actually isn't so bad. It's just more of the fact that we are in the mountains right now, and so the snow is going to be a bit weird. It may not be completely pushed out or plowed out, but it's also going to be a bit of a busy area, and so there's going to have been cars to travel and all that fun stuff. ice would be the thing that I would be more afraid of than anything else. I'll get some footage of it, but I'm probably not going to talk about it much as I concentrate on making sure that the first hour or two at least is going to be all good. But I think we're going to be set.
Words that would come to haunt me. For this leg, my plan was to use the stretch from Durango to Pagosa Springs as a check to see if my intended route to Alamosa was going to work. If not, I'd need to take an alternative route that dips briefly into New Mexico, but would add a half hour to my drive. However, my planned route to Alamosa would take me over Wolf Creek Pass, one of the most treacherous passes in Colorado. Having spent most of my life in the snow, the drive into and out of Pagosa Springs felt fine. But life in the snow also means most of my driving was outfitted with the right equipment. So when the road conditions suddenly changed as I attempted the summit, my car began to struggle on the compacted snow, forcing me to stop and evaluate the situation. Even though I was able to limp my way another mile, I was forced to turn around and return to Pagosa Springs to take the alternate route. However, it would turn out the alternative route was not all sunshine and roses. As I worked my way through the winding turns, I noticed the thing that I feared most. The road was icier than I felt comfortable driving on. This would quickly become the most afraid that I have ever felt driving in snow. Even with winter tires, this would have been a harrowing drive. Cresting the hill, I realized I was going faster than I felt comfortable with, but slowing down was not an option. No guardrails and a shallow shoulder meant I nearly drifted off a 100-foot drop. This would be the deciding factor that made me realize I would not be coming this way for the return trip.
Well, that was an exciting adventure, now wasn't it? Guess what path I'm not taking again? And actually, now I'm glad that I haven't booked a hotel on the return yet. Because I'm not going any of these directions anymore. This is not pleasant. At least for this little area here, getting through the mountains-ish.
With dry roads ahead and night falling quickly, I hustled the rest of the way to Colorado Springs. And welcomed a very cold morning with a drive through the city. I took this time to visit some areas I haven't been to in years. I went to Palmer Park, an area in the middle of the city with a grand view overlook that lets you take in the full beauty of the majestic Pikes Peak Range. And finally, a stop for lunch at one of my favorite places, Fargo's Pizza. I consider this a must-stop, boasting a unique Victorian aesthetic with stained glass and art adorning every inch of the place. And even more special during the holidays when they deck out the whole place for Christmas from top to bottom. Because of the pandemic, Fargo's was temporarily shut down, but thankfully they were able to reopen their doors a couple months ago as of the time of this recording. It is wonderfully unique and a personal favorite of mine. Fueled up with pizza and a short trip to my parents' house, I shore up in my accommodations for the week A wonderful one-bedroom private house that features this amazing glass window covering that looks incredible when the sun is shining. After such a dramatic trip, I finally get to spend some time in vacation mode. Which means, yeah, I didn't get much footage of my adventures. For the 2 people who are going to be watching this video, please forgive me. With all that said, it was time to return.
Finally, we have reached the end of our journey, in which I am going a pathway that I did not necessarily want to take. I don't care much for this pathway. To me, it's pretty dull and boring, and we're going to be taking interstates the whole way down I-25 to Albuquerque, and then west on 40. And I'm going to try and miss Flagstaff and take a highway back to a bit closer to where my home destination is going to be.
For my return, I will be taking a route I am much less enthusiastic about, heading south on I-25 to Albuquerque, then westward on I-40 toward Flagstaff. My plan is to split off I-40 to take highways into Phoenix, which not only get me closer to home, but I'm also hoping provides a much more scenic view for my drive back. The only risky part of this drive is Raton Pass at the border of Colorado and New Mexico, which proved to be more picturesque than risky.
The weather has been lately, it's probably a very different experience than what I experienced when I was coming in.
Just shy of the New Mexico-Arizona border, the rest of the drive was as incredible as I hoped. I never realized how beautiful northeastern Arizona was. It was incredible to watch the greenery of the mountain highway change abruptly into saguaros and desert mesas to provide breathtaking landscapes. As I weaved through the mountains that made up the eastern border of the broader Phoenix area, I never realized how incredible the view was outside the valley of the city. At least for the remaining hours of my return home, I got my fill of magnificent views and a fun drive as the sun set, and provided a reminder, as even though this was the most dangerous road trip I have been on, this is why I prefer the drive.